So the other type of programming is school programming. Now here we have two types of conditioning that happen in the school programming. We have the operant and the classical conditioning type that happens in schools. I am not going to dive so deep, but I want you to understand the operant conditioning is where we have the punishment and the reward, and the classical conditioning we have the bells ringing. So who are our programmers in school? Our programmers are the teachers, the non-teaching staff, the administrative administration, the administrative staff, and our peers, our fellow students. In these particular schools, we pick up different types of beliefs from our teachers and from our peers, and these beliefs influence us subconsciously, whether we realize it or not. And I also want you to understand in this particular system called the school system, here is where we are trained obedience. We are trained to be obedient. We are trained to follow rules, not to question authority. And it is in this programming also where we are, what is it, trained to be slaves. Yes, this is where the training to be slaves begins. If in case you're wondering what do I mean by training to be slaves, I will explain that maybe later. But this is where these trainings begin. So some of the beliefs that we pick up in the school system are, for example, math is hard. Uh, for example, math is for boys, and like the sciences are for boys, and then arts and languages are for girls. Some of other beliefs that we pick up in this school programming are like, for example, in my school, where I used to study, in my high school, we had this teacher who used to call us stupid. Practically, he used to call us stupid in a metaphor. He would say that our brains, the reason why we would not understand mathematics was because our brains were like dry banana leaves. You know, when you step on dry banana leaves, what happens? They're noisy. They're noisy. And so he would say that our brains are like this, and then he would proceed and ask us what makes loud noises, and we would be like, empty debes, and we'll be like, exactly, you are like that, empty debes. So practically this guy was just calling us stupid in a short way. So this is a certain type of programming that also happens within us, and later on, whether we are aware of it subconsciously. And I want you to also understand that this programming is deep, and it also happens on the subconscious level, and subconsciously it affects us. And if you pay attention to your behaviors, if you pay attention to your routines, you will come to see how this school programming seriously affects you and seriously runs you subconsciously. Yes. um, One other thing that I realized about the school program is that, especially here in our country, our school program is not supposed to teach us to think. It's supposed to teach us how to memorize and to repeat information. And I have told you why this is like that. It's so because they do not want, our school system is like, the school program is supposed to train slaves, workers. Yes, practically it's supposed to train workers. That's why you're not supposed to be thinking in the school system. That's why you're not supposed to question authority, and that's why we have the classical conditioning of bell ringing, so that you have specific times to do specific things, so that when you go and join the workforce, you already know how to behave. You do not question authority, you just follow orders. There's specific times to do specific things. For example, you have 10 minutes to go on a break. Remember, in school we also had 10 minutes to go for like short breaks and stuff like that. And yes, guys, so it's a very interesting type of thing, this stuff that I'm talking about.